Well, good morning. It's quite a privilege to be here amongst such amazing organisations. And isn't that always the way your computer stops working when you get on stage? Well, this is going to be interesting. Thank you so much for being here and giving us the opportunity to talk to you today about what we're doing at ANZ. It's been an honour to be amongst all these other organisations that are doing quite amazing things. ANZ is very much just at the beginning of its journey. And if you like, we're probably the new kids on the block. And you sort of think, well, what do we got to offer in terms of the conversation and what can we add to it? Well, one of the things is that it's really fresh in our mind, the why. Why would you do this? Why would you get involved in supporting autistic people? And how? How are you going to go about doing that? So that's what I want to share with you today. When I think about the team that we have, just about all of us are parents or carers of someone with an autistic child. So it's very personal to us, and that's driven a deep motivation for us in this. I have a son, Joshua, who's 12 this year. He was born premature and he nearly died in my arms. There was a machine in the room that had been taking his fetal heartbeat and it had been disconnected and turned off, and it started beeping. Nurses rushed in, and quickly after that they bought a crash cart and they revived him, and we call him our miracle child. Along with autism, he has some learning disabilities. He's probably about 2 to 3 years behind the rest of his Year 6 class, and he suffers the same types of challenges that other children with autism do in that social interaction as he's moving into those preteen years. So for us, there's a real desire within our group to do something that will help the organisation in that way. He's a wonderful kid in terms of his abilities. He's a wonderful drawer, he's a very deep thinker. But I think about all of those talents he's got, and I wonder what sort of challenge he's going to face in terms of being able to come to employers like those of us in the room with the recruitment practices that we have today, and what opportunity does he have? See, the Wall Street Journal did a report back in 2014 that said 85% of autistic people are unemployed, but 60% of them have the same cognitive ability or above those of neurotypical people. That study was followed up in 2016 by the National Autistic Society in the UK, and they arrived at the same conclusion. And in fact, they highlighted that that result hadn't changed in 9 years. So there's a reason that those of us in this room need to take this seriously. The societal issue, but also the benefits, the realisation of benefits, and you've started hearing those being talked about this morning. But before I go there, I just want to talk a little bit about our journey. ANZ has a very proud history of leading in the area of diversity and inclusion. The first time we did this was way back in 1866. We were the first bank to employ women. And we have many hallmarks right along our history of that. In 2016, the Technology Organisation gave some funding to a group of people they called TPEC, the Technology People Engagement and Culture Working Group. It was made up of everyday technology people who wanted to have an opportunity to be involved in shaping the culture of the organisation. Now, many of us on that group, as we started to talk, found out that we were parents and carers or people who cared about the autistic community. And as a result of that, we started to dream. We started to ask the question, what if? What if we, ANZ, did something different? What if we could change our environment? What if we were able to create a place that celebrated the talents of autistic people? Well, in December of that same year, we had an opportunity to proudly sponsor the App for Autism hackathon with the Autism CRC. At the end of that event, when all the prizes had been given out and the cheers were fading, one of the participants got on stage, took a hold of the microphone and made an impassioned plea to the corporates in the room. Don't forget what you've seen here today. Don't forget the talent. Don't forget the ideas. Don't think of us as having a disability, think of us as a different ability. It was absolutely heartbreaking, but it steeled our resolve to do something about it. At the beginning of this year, ANZ released its new purpose, to shape a world where people and communities thrive. And I love that word thrive. It's been used a couple of times this morning, so I'm like, yes, we're on the right track. And just recently, in the last week or two, we've gone back to the market and we've reaffirmed our commitment to employ over 1,000 people from underrepresented groups as part of our corporate social responsibility by 2020. Now, there is no doubt a war on talent, and if you are not experiencing it yet, you soon will be. And it's not against your traditional competitors. And this is a story of JP Morgan and how they moved into the autism space. They found that unlike the normal competition that they would face against people like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they were starting to see competition from non-traditional places, from places like Nike, Netflix, vying for really hot jobs in cybersecurity, in testing, and in other areas. They decided to test this principle that they'd heard, or prove this principle, if you like, that they'd heard, that there was an untapped potential talent pool in the autistic community. So they brought an autistic group together, a neurotypical group together. They had them do software testing for a number of months. And at the end of that time, they arrived at a result that said that the autistic testing team was 48% more productive, both in terms of throughput and in terms of the defects that they found. And as a result of that, they've recently taken that to their chairman of the board and they've increased their program dramatically and become well known as an employer in the autistic community. So there's a good reason for us to do it. So if that really gets you thinking, yes, I want to get involved in this, then the next question you need to ask yourself is, how are you going to get involved in it? How are you going to make something happen in your organisation? If you take the statistics that the Australian government give us that say 1 in 150 adults are autistic, medically diagnosed as being on the spectrum, you consider that number I gave you before that said 85% are unemployed, you can expect in your organisation, if you're over 1,000 people, that one person in your organisation is medically diagnosed as being on the spectrum. To put that in the context of ANZ, we're about 48,000 people across about 30 countries. That would mean 48 people in our organisation. So clearly awareness is going to be really quite low, and that is something you're going to have to work on, raising the awareness and really building the momentum. You'll have heard the proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I'd like to suggest to you today it's going to take an ecosystem to make a career. And that ecosystem is going to involve a bunch of different people. You're going to need enablers, people that are able to bring in specialist services, people that are going to be able to bring in support programs, all of those types of things. You're also going to need mentors, people that have gone before. So we've heard from Sunpork this morning, from universities that connect and are doing amazing research that are helping us get to the place that we're at. But today I want to talk to you about the nucleus of who you're going to need in your organisation to raise the awareness and build momentum. And I'm going to do that with a hiking analogy, because any of you that read my bio and seen the picture of Josh up there would know that I love the mountains. I haven't been up there at this time of year. It's a bit cold. Planning to go up in a few weeks' time, but we'll see how we go. Melbourne's been wet, cold and windy, so it hasn't helped. But I want to give you this idea that there's 3 different types of personas that you need within your team. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be the case that one person each does that, but they're the kind of roles that you'll play. The first one is that of the activist. The activist is the person that is able to envision something that is not yet in being. It's almost like they have a faith to see something as if it were, but it isn't yet. They're not perturbed by the challenges that lay ahead, by the roadblocks that might occur or any of that sort of stuff, because they're able to grab a hold of the vision and sell that into your organisation. And if I think about that from a parks analogy, you've got a beautiful park here in New South Wales, Kosciuszko National Park. Main Range is a wonderful place to stay. But prior to that, it had many different users, going back thousands of years to the first Australians. At a point in time, someone saw the ecological values of that park and said, we need to protect this. We need to make this a park that people can be educated in, that can enjoy it, and so forth. So they will have started to raise awareness of that. They would have put pictures up of the beauty of it, all sorts of different things that they would have done. And they eventually would have got to a point where there was a headline statement that caused people to have to take a position. And that's what activists do for you. So, you really need these people because they are key to moving your organisation to a place that says, I've never thought about this before, but now I need it. We're very blessed to have a great activist in the team, and she's here with us today, Michaela, and I just want to acknowledge her, the effort that she's put into this. But coming quickly after the activists are the pioneers. Now, the pioneers are the people that are going to be your early leaders. They're going to be ones that grab a hold of the vision from the activists. They see what needs to be done and they're able to build that into your organisation. They're going to be the people that do the contract work. They're going to think about the planning, where are we going to get the funding, all of those types of things. In the same way that once a park is designated, someone's got to go in and work out where we're going to route the tracks, who's going to build the huts, what about the management plan that looks after this place. So they are critically important into that as well. And I'm pleased to have Andrew here with us today, who's been a wonderful pioneer within our group. Quickly after that are your settlers. And the settlers are critical to your long-term success. Now, our program is talking about people. All of us here are about helping people be better, which means that you need to make sure you've got settlers lined up to help you in your program because they're the ones that are going to maintain the program, make sure the program's a success, and in doing so, that's going to make people a success. And so they're critical in that. And so I would suggest to you that if you have an activist and a pioneer and you start a program with no settlers, you're going to have a short program. I think that's how important they are. On top of that are going to be your sponsors. You will not get anywhere without your sponsors. At ANZ, we have 2 executive sponsors that both report to the CEO, and we have another 3 senior leaders who are part of that extended leadership team. They have been absolutely critical to getting our voice, the program's voice, up to the most senior levels because that's where the decisions have really been made. And I want to acknowledge Estelle Vorster, who can't be here with us today, but she's been a founding sponsor for our program. She has tirelessly given her voice to the program, and as a result of that has allowed us to be in a position where I'm very happy to announce that we have just gone into partnership with DXC, a wonderful sponsor of this event, to put the Dandelion program into the bank. So it's wonderful to be able to talk about that here today. Secondly, we've had Linwin, who's another wonderful sponsor, and what Linwin's been able to do, and the reason I say this is because I think it's important to understand why we have sponsors, is that she's been able to put her reputation and trust that the senior people have in her on the line for the program, and that's made a massive difference. I saw her the other day get up in front of a group of people and advocate for the program before I even started speaking. And I made a bit of a joke about it to the audience going, do we just get a tick now? But that's how important those people are. And I just want to finish by talking a little bit about the vision, because the vision isn't just to have a program. We are not interested in creating jobs. Not interested in creating jobs. We're interested in making careers. We want to create an environment where autistic people are celebrated, are supported in a way that it's not just a tick in a box. I get we need programs and I get we need targets, but our vision is to get to a point where we don't need a program and we don't need a target. And there's a wonderful book called Fish in a Tree. It has a great line to finish with, and it says, everybody is smart in different ways, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its life believing it's stupid. I was talking in church the other day on Father's Day about dreams and about reviving the desires of our heart. And I would say to you, if this is the desire of your heart this morning, to get involved, to do something that makes a difference in the autistic community, don't ignore it. Because often the things that are the deep desire of our heart are the places of truth, and they're the places of moment we have the greatest clarity. It's the desire of my heart and the vision of us as a program and our partnership to see the autistic community thrive. Not just the community itself, but to do something that will change a nation. So I encourage you here this morning, if this has been of use to you, if this has moved you in your heart, then use the next couple of days to find out as much as you possibly can and start on that journey. And thank you for your time and for listening.